Welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes with Kari and Keelan. This is episode number 9. I am Kari Rae Davis with Kari Sells the City and Keller Williams.
And I'm Keelan Harvey with the Harvey Home Team and Highlands Residential Mortgage.
Keelan, I'm really excited to talk to you this week because I have been running into some scenarios with buyers that currently own their home. And when you're at a home and you find that you really like it, but you still currently own your home, I want to talk about some loan programs for people that are in that situation that could be beneficial for them. So I wanted to get your take on a couple different loan programs.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about this because a lot of times people don't think they have options, and they have options. So 3 specifically, there's the old school bridge loan, there's a HELOC, and then my favorite, the new program that we've announced called the trade up program, which is very exciting.
Great, because I know that I specifically have some people I'm thinking about that would fall into this category. So tell us a little bit about that trade up program loan that you've got.
Well, I'll start on the surface. So let's say you want to buy a new home, you own an existing home. So you identify your new home and you're all excited about it. We have investors, and they will purchase your old home from you and advance up to 70% of the old home's market value in initial upfront installment, minus costs and fees, of course, but with an initial installment upfront. So now you can take that money to go buy the new home. So you qualify with that money to purchase the new home. You get to move into the new home, and then you keep your agents and you maintain control of the resale and actually the responsibility of the whole property. So you keep it up to speed. Obviously, the intent is to sell it. So you want to keep it up to speed. And then when you sell the home, you don't lose money. That doesn't just disappear, the rest of the 30%. When the home sells, then you also get the remainder of those proceeds. But of course, just with any transaction, you're going to have to pay your agents and closing costs and all that fun stuff. But that's no different than anything else. But the beauty of this program is you don't have to put in a contingent offer, which is huge when it gets competitive, because they've taken the property out of your name. So it's literally, you can compete with everybody else.
So I want to get a little bit more detailed about that. So basically, I just want to kind of reiterate what you said. So I'm working with buyers. They currently own their home, and we know what home we want to make an offer on. And so one thing that I want to also touch on really quick is that you're not a bank, right? So tell us a little bit about what kind of lender you are and what kind of programs, because you've got more options than most banks would have, correct?
Yeah, I'm very blessed in my career. I've got to the position where I can pretty much pick and choose who I want to be. And, you could be a broker, you can work for a bank. And where we are is really the best of all worlds. So I love it because it helps me to serve you, Kari Rae, as an agent, to make sure that we're performing well, and of course our customers. But, where we're like a bank is we have money of our own that we can lend, and and we can service our own loans. So, very similar to a bank. Where we step away from a bank for many other reasons too. But the main thing is I have investors that I can go to, and we've established these relationships similar to a broker. We've established these relationships, but to a level where I think it exceeds a broker, is that we can underwrite and take the responsibility of these investors. So we're not like, a lot of these brokers go out and they send it to a third party underwriters, all that stuff. Right. It can get really messy. It can take forever, and it's a stressful process. Sometimes when we have out of the box scenarios, we'll have to do that, and I'll have to live in that world where you send it off, and if I don't have control of it, it drives me crazy. But majority, 98% of everything I do, we are delegated to underwrite in-house for these investors. So it just gives us a much broader pool of and tools in our tool belt for everybody's situation. I'm famous for custom mortgage solutions. That's a huge reason why, is because I have a bunch of different avenues that I can go down and options for my customers that most people don't.
Right. Okay. So that's where I wanted you to explain that piece, because when we're talking about having an investor purchase your home, you would still be working through Keelan and his team with an investor that they are working with and have vetted, especially if you're going through underwriting with them already as well. So okay, Absolutely. So I'm out with my buyers, back to our scenario. I'm out with my buyers. We've got a beautiful house that we want to buy, but they currently own their home. And a lot of the time there's a misconception. It's people say, oh my gosh, but I've got to sell it. We've got to do all of these things. And that's why I wanted to talk with you about this, because I want to make sure we're giving people information on what they can do to empower themselves to make changes in their lives in the positive. So we say we want to write an offer, we go through you, and you have an investor that says, okay, I'm willing to work with you, and I'm going to give this buyer slash seller 70% of their estimated equity or estimated value.
Estimated value. So basically,
Okay.
the investor calculates your estimated current market value of the home, and they use their own calculation for that. They're trying to give you market value that's
Sure.
supported with data, and then you go through. We're gonna have this all spread out beforehand, so you're gonna know what this is all about. You get a seller equity agreement, and we discuss all the numbers. And this is what it's gonna look like from exiting your old property into the new one.
Okay.
So if you would, what's that?
Oh, I was gonna jump in, but please go ahead.
Yeah. So you have the sales contract that's signed by you and the investor to buy your home if need be. So really what you've done there is now the investor is guaranteed to buy your home prior to closing on your new home. And again, only need be. So one of two things is going to happen at this point in this scenario. If you go under contract for your new home, and your old home sells before you close on your new home, then guess what? There's no fees, no harm, no foul. Then you take the money from your old one and you buy the new home, right?
Okay.
Or if your home does not sell before your schedule on the other one, then the investor on your new home, the investor buys your old home, paying off your old mortgage, and then provides you with the funds needed for your down payment on the new one for the closing costs and all that fun stuff. Which is huge. And why that's huge is because there's no contingency there. Now it's taken out of your name. And a big problem with some of these other programs, which we'll talk about later, are qualifying. Debt to income ratio, when it's taken out of your name, now it's not a qualifying factor. You can qualify for more home, and you'll have more money to put down, which is a huge thing. And so while your old home remains on the market, you have complete control of it as well. So you get to control the listing, the pricings, negotiations, all that stuff. And nothing changes in that scenario. At this point, the investor is not going to be all up in your business.
Sure. So, and what I'm hearing you say also is that, part of the reason why this is such a great option for people is because that they are going to be able to purchase a home without having that debt on their record. Because if that asset isn't in their name, well, then they are able to purchase a higher priced home without having their DTI being dinged by having that larger payment or that larger debt.
Absolutely. So when you have a bridge loan, you have to qualify with both mortgages. And so you're limited on your debt to income ratio that you qualify for. So on this program, you're basically retiring the old debt. So you're not responsible for it, which means you can qualify for much more, which gives you a ton more options as a buyer and puts you into a home that you might actually want. You could be limited by debt to income. So, it kind of defeats the purpose, because now you can't even get into the home that you wanted because there's not enough money there to be had to bridge the gap, right? So this is a game changer. This is not a bridge loan. This is a unicorn in our industry, and one that I think it's just going to gain popularity as rates go down. A ton of people are sitting on a boatload of equity right now, have a super low interest rate, and they're not interested in a high 7% interest rate at this moment, but rates are going to come down, and they have a boatload of equity in their house, and they're able to step up. Hence why it's called the trade up program, because it gives you the ability to trade up your existing situation, and much sooner than you probably might realize.
Right. Well, and so one thing I want to also touch on as well is because let's say your home doesn't sell. Now, is that where the investor would come in and just outright buy it completely and relieve you of any responsibility?
No, I mean, they want to work with you. So, and I've talked to the investor directly, and they're professionals. They know what they're doing. After about the 6-month mark, they're going to walk in and be like, "Hey, what's going on? Why isn't the house sold?" What I mean? And there's probably a reason. If your house isn't sold in 6 months, you probably have it priced too high. Maybe you haven't done what you need to do. There could be a multitude of reasons why your house didn't sell. But at that point, they're going to come back and ask, hey, what do we need to do? And, this is a conversation with the sellers. They want to be, they want you to be in that conversation of, and the agent, of course,
Right.
most
I was going to
importantly.
say, and the agent's still
Yeah.
part of this process, right?
Yeah, a huge part of the process. They're going to be talking with the agent and really collaborating on what we need to do to sell this home. But, considering where we are in the market and, and what's happening with interest rates, I'm hoping we turn the corner here. And this is the moment we've been waiting for. And if that's the case, I don't think your home is going to be on the market for 6 months.
Right. I think it's always about presentation and pricing it correctly, right? And also
Yeah.
your marketing plan. But so really quick, I want to touch on the bridge loan basically is similar to the trade up program. However, you still own the home, but you get a loan to bridge the gap from where you owe to what you want to buy. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So you're getting a percentage. It's usually up to 80% loan to value out of the old home. So it's really situation's boss on how much cash you're going to be able to get, but always limited on debt to income, and you're limited on the fact that you still have a contingent offer. Your home
Right.
has to sell, which is the biggest problem of all, especially as things get more competitive.
Right.
They tend to be fairly expensive too, but really the main thing is getting that debt situation, retiring the old debt so you can qualify for more, and the fact that you're not offering contingent on the sale of your other house
Right.
is really the biggest thing by far.
And then the HELOC. The HELOC is another option too that people would have, but it would be kind of a similar situation to the bridge loan, correct?
Yeah, a HELOC, what you're doing is just taking out a second mortgage on your home. So it's just a line of credit. Think about it like a giant credit card, basically.
Okay.
So
Big,
based
big
on the
name.
equity, I mean, depends on which one you get. My favorite type of HELOCs are the ones that are like a credit card. You only pay interest on what you borrow. So if you have a $150,000 HELOC and you only use 50,000 of it, you're only paying interest on 50,000. Some will make you just start paying back the 150 grand right out of the gate. So they come in different flavors. We can get into that another time about HELOCs. But the point is, you're taking that money and throwing it down as the down payment on the new home, and then you sell your other home. Then once your other home sells, one thing people don't realize is you can throw that money from the sale of your house at the new loan and do what's called a recast, which
Okay.
always kind of raises people's eyebrows when I talk about that. So you can throw a lump sum of money at an existing mortgage, right?
And this is
And
really any mortgage, correct?
any mortgage,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
any mortgage.
Yeah.
But this is where this happens a lot of times with a huge chunk of change, like, because you sell your house and you have another 300 grand or something, right?
Right.
So a big chunk of change, you throw it at the mortgage. Now, what the lender will do, instead of having to refinance, because refinancing is expensive, you have to pay closing costs and all that.
Right.
What we'll do is what's called a recast. So they'll just ties your loan. So if you're a year into a 30-year mortgage, they don't start it over. They just throw it towards the mortgage. It brings down your equity or your principal.
Mhm.
So because you wrote a giant check, and then they re-amortize the loan based on the existing interest rate that you already have, except your payments go way down because your loan amount is extremely lower. So it's a way.
I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a way.
That sounds like a great idea. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a way to do that. Again, though, the problem with that people run into is you have to qualify for, you have an existing mortgage.
Mhm.
Now you have a home equity line of credit, and then you also have a loan on a new house, because what you would have done is, got the home equity line of credit and then, qualified for the new home. I've done it a lot of times though. And,
Right.
Well,
and this could also be, the HELOC could also be used for people that want to buy an investment property. So that the HELOC can be, and a HELOC can also be used for repairs on your home. So there's all sorts of things that can be used for, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, HELOCs are huge. I'm a big advocate for HELOCs. You got all this equity sitting in your home doing what? You got to, now granted, your home's appreciating, and that's the beauty of having an investment. My favorite investment, real estate, but why not take that money and leverage it and go use it? You're taking that money out tax-free, which is huge.
Right.
If you talk to the Kevin, Kiyosakis of the world and all that, that's what they're all about, is using that money leverage from the bank, because it's the real enemy is the tax man.
Right.
I'm not a CPA. Talk to your tax advisor. But you can take money out tax free, and you should, quite frankly, go
Right.
use that and leverage that to grow your wealth.
Right. Well, I know that I'm really excited about the trade up program just because it gives buyers slash sellers, people that want to sell their home and purchase another one, an option. And so we kind of did a broad brush stroke about it, but that's all I'm trying to do is create conversation for us to educate people on their options and try and show people what they can do even in a tough market. And the thing is these things exist even when it's not a tough market. So I'm excited to be able to share this information with people out there that want to move up. They're ready to buy a new home, and maybe they found a home that they are in love with, but they've got that obstacle of trying to sell. So, but please, if you've got more questions, reach out to Keelan and I. I mean, all of these things are case by case basis, and we know that everybody's situation is different. So please reach out to me, Kari Rae Davis, and my number is 206-330-6985.
And mine is 206-321-4941.
So if you've got questions about what this looks like, reach out to Keelan, reach out to me, and let us answer these questions for you, or let's have a conversation about it. Because again, everything is customized based on what you're able to do. So, well, Keelan, thank you again for your expertise this week. I'm excited to share this because I have some people in mind that I want to share this with specifically. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. No harm and no foul. We don't steer anybody down a direction. One solution is going to be different for the next. So it's just about gaining information and data and figuring out what works best for you and your family.
Right. So, well, I think that's a good one for this week, Keelan. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me again this week. And I can't wait to see you again next week.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Thanks, Gary.
Bye.